Hi, I'm Bobby Halton, and we're on the road at FDIC 2008, and I'm here with Mike Gagliano. Mike was our keynote speaker on Wednesday. Mike, you brought the house down.
Well, it was a blast.
Congratulations, and he's also a Training Achievement Award winner for 2008, so holy cow. You brought home the gold, and you also got to be in a relay. We had we had Phil and we had Steve up earlier, so Casey's the only one who didn't appear so far.
He dodged it.
He dodged that bullet, huh? So tell me about Air Management, the book, and where do you think it's going to go?
Well, it's been an amazing week. Thank you to you. We are amazed to have a book on air management. It's a topic that's obviously near and dear to our heart. We hope that it's going to be something that's going to be near and dear to your heart, because the smoke that we breathe now is killing us. And you've talked about that at length for many, many years. Everyone's talking about hydrogen cyanide. I wish that was all there was. Carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, benzene, formaldehyde, and the list goes on and on and on. If we're, as a routine part of our fire operations, breathing this smoke, we're going to continue to increase the cancer statistics that are killing us outside of normal fireground operations. On the fireground, we know that 60–70% of the folks that are dying in structure fires, if they're going to perish, they're probably going to perish because of asphyxiation. That's what we're trying to attack.
Good. And talk about the book a little as it relates to, say, the new standard 1404. Is it good?
Sure.
Does it parallel it? Is there things in there that are going to help people to be standard compliant?
You bet. A couple years ago, people from the 1404 committee came to our class. They came in and watched. They took the stuff that we teach in our class and they went back and they fought a great battle. And they argued and came out of that committee with a unanimous recommendation. The first part of it being, you will have an air management program. That's no longer up to you. You have to have the program, you have to have it in place. By unanimous decision, the NFPA committee put in their index recommendations for what that program should look like. Those three things are: you will exit the IDLH before your low air warning alarm hits, so you keep that 25% reserve intact. That's for firefighter emergencies only. If you hear that bell, that's an indication that the emergency reserve is being used, and if you hear it, it then becomes an immediate action item. It's something that you have to check out. And we learned this the hard way in Seattle. We had multiple close calls where we had guys that were in serious trouble. Their bell was going off, and everybody ignored it because it was a false alarm mentality. They've been hearing them their whole career, and it meant nothing.
That's the most common sound on the fire ground, is somebody's pass device going off, and the second is the low air alarm.
Right.
I mean, who hasn't worked next to a guy with his low air alarm going off for 5–10 minutes in a fire?
Every one of us, and half the time when the low air warning alarm goes off, you don't even know it's yours. You're so used to it. You think it's somebody else's. Then you're in the situation like a Bart Bradbury in Fort Worth. Then you're in a situation like example after example where the emergency reserve was needed and it was utilized for something that it was never intended to be utilized for, and now they're in trouble. No time for the RIT team to get in and get them. No time to make any decisions other than, guess it sounds good to dive headfirst out a window, or we hunker down and we die. So,
I think it's an interesting. It's interesting that finally, after this piece of technology has been in the system for probably 40 years, that people finally figured out that it fails routinely.
Right.
How many thousands of failures have we had of SCBAs, either through misuse, through mechanical, through whatever? Right. A failure is a failure, whether it's a human caused, whether it's mechanical caused, whether it's just caused through negligence. It's a failure. So we've had all these failures, and now we finally decide to create a program to go with it, which is really kind of interesting. It's interesting. I guess it's not very valuable, but it's interesting, I guess, from a psychological standpoint, in terms of the nature of the firefighter.
You remember how many years ago were you talking about hydrogen cyanide? How many years ago were you bringing Deborah Wallace's book to the forefront, and it was slow to be listened to? The work that you laid the groundwork for what every one of us is doing now in the components of smoke. Well, sure it was. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to get folks to recognize you cannot like the message, and that's okay. I understand wanting to get in and be aggressive and use every bit of your air. That kind of is how we've done things, but it still is causing firefighters to die, and it's not just at the fire scene. It's in cancer wards across the country. We talked, in the keynote, we talked about this, about leadership and about leaders caring about their firefighters in more than just a bumper sticker, "I love you, man." that also has to show itself in how you have your firefighters operate. If you know for a fact that breathing smoke is killing them, and because you don't want to be disliked or because you want to be viewed as not aggressive, you continue to let them operate in that smoke with impunity, you're looking for trouble. And the answer for firefighters rarely, if ever, is technology. We use technology to assist what we do. The mask is a piece of technology, and it gave us purchase into the IDLH atmosphere. That's what it does. When we start throwing in things like monitors and tracking devices and even personnel outside looking to see that we're okay airwise, all that stuff is great. You just can't count on it, and you can't trust on it. Our message is simple. Your air is your responsibility. We rely on the noodle of the firefighter every day over any gadget they can give us.
Well, that's Chuck Perot's work from 1984. High-risk technology is not the answer.
Nothing new under the sun.
keep layering technology is not going to make you any safer.
Right.
The human element in almost every system is what keeps the system from failing completely.
Right.
Duh.
Right.
You know. So
Yep.
talk about the keynote. You kind of touched on it a little bit. Hey, you talked about officer responsibility. It was a great keynote. It was a killer
Appreciate
keynote.
it, brother.
So talk about what inspired you to do that. Well, how did you come up with that tact for a keynote?
Well, you and I talk about this. We talk about it a lot. I read your editorials.
You're the guy.
And, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the one guy.
You're the guy.
Look, it's amazing to me that firefighters, with as great a job as we have, a great a history as we have, tradition we have, are becoming demoralized. And we are hearing it everywhere we teach. Firefighters are wondering about the future of the fire service. Do they have a place in it? Is there something for them to do? They're wondering where in the world their fire leadership got trained and what books they're reading because they don't want to read them. They feel like they're being neglected and they're not being listened to. What I wanted to do was speak to firefighters that they need to remember where we came from, what they felt like when they got into the fire service and the dreams and goals they had, because it's being chipped away and taken from them. And I think it's from a lot of areas. I didn't have a lot of time to go into it. I didn't have 40 minutes up there, or I could have gone into detail. But I think primarily it's from our leadership. I think our leadership is not casting a vision of what the fire service is and what it means. The same vision they were given when they came into the fire service.
Who is leadership, in your opinion? Who's a leader? What's a leadership? Who is the leadership?
I think leadership in the department, obviously it starts at the top, but it doesn't have to. I think leadership
Well, the fire
happens.
service, if you talk about the fire service, who would be the leaders? Like Congressional Fire Service Institute?
You know who the moral and spiritual leader of the fire service is, right? Because that's you, brother. Okay?
And I'm failing.
Hey, don't argue with the
There's
keynote.
another
Don't argue with the keynote.
That's fair.
Look, I don't worry so much about what is happening at the national level because they have larger fish to fry than what we're talking about. Right. They have budgetary issues and they have major policy issues.
One guy at a time.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chief officers and the company officers and the informal leaders within the firehouse, and that's firefighters, the drivers, the 20-year driver. They've got to impart to the new guys and to the older fellas who have kind of lost it or are getting comfortable. They have to impart a vision that we are a humble, service-oriented group that takes care of our own, and by virtue of taking care of our own, we do a job for the citizens. And we've got to focus on that and not on the bumper sticker stuff.
I'll steal that one.
So it's all yours, brother. It's all yours.
How's everything else going?
Amazing week.
Family life is great.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah, got to bring Ann along for this. She got to see the keynote, and I didn't wet myself, so woohoo! She got to see us get the award, which thank you very much, and she got to watch us sign a book. It's a great week.
You earned it.
It's a great week.
God bless you. You earned it. That's fantastic. I still haven't gotten my signed copy either.
Sitting right over there.
Is it
so
really?
You can't tell that lie anymore.
Oh, we would have been a great prop for the video. Well, hang on a second. Can I actually move? This is probably like breaking all the rules of videography. I know how to reposition myself. There's the book, Air Management for the Fire Service, fire engineering books and videos. Make sure you buy it. This is my good friend Mike Gagliano.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm Bobby Halton. We're on the road, and you be careful out there.